Hey guys, what's up? So today's video is gonna be super epic. I am in love with these fluted dressers. However, check out the price tag. Yeah. No! That was my husband's reaction when he saw it too. And he was like, there is no way that I'm paying this much on a dresser. And you know what? For the first time, we actually agreed on something. Aww. Yeah. Isn't it amazing? Our plan is to create our own version of a fluted dresser for $150. Last time around, a lot of people were like, I didn't give a proper breakdown of how I came up with the numbers. So I'm actually going to give you a proper breakdown of where I got my supplies from. And also I'm going to link them below just so you have access to it and you can also recreate this look if you have lots of time on your hands, and also if you're into like this fluted, rustic, artisan, furniture. Also, this is gonna be an unfiltered version of our journey. So I'm gonna be sharing our mistakes with you, the challenges we came across, and obviously certain tips. So let's get right into it. This was the dresser that we had, and this was in our kids' nursery. So when we moved into this place, nursery, or the second bedroom, was a little bit smaller and it didn't have enough space to accommodate the dresser. So I had to like bring it out in the living room, and with that, my plan was to like turn it into a sideboard and basically make it a part of the dining area. Now my dining area has a lot of like wood features to it, and there was no way that this dresser could like mesh well with like all the other furniture in the dining room. So the plan was to upcycle in a way that it looks rustic, it looks vintage, it looks archaic, and also it goes well with everything in the dining area.
So the first step was to remove all the handles, so we are working with a blank canvas here. Next came the fun part, which is sanding. Now, what can possibly go wrong with sanding? Well, let me tell you what we did. We used a 120 grit sandpaper, which is okay for wood. However, in this case, we were working with laminate, which is non-porous, so it is best to lightly scuff the surface. And the recommended grit sandpaper is 150 to 220. So yeah, we did go overboard with our sanding. See, even my daughter is like, what the heck are my parents up to? It's called trial and error. Stop judging, okay? The next step was to paint the sides of the dresser with black paint and hold the shaky camera in the other hand. Sorry, I can't multitask. Then I created the design that I wanted on the dresser using a different colored marker and added tiny doodles to it just so I knew the direction of the dowels as I was putting them on. I also numbered the drawers on the inside so I know where each one is gonna go afterwards, just so it's easier for me. Now the next step was to glue on the dowels. I must confess, this was the hardest and most time-consuming part of this whole makeover. We were literally doweled and glued out by the time this was done. So the first thing I did was to figure out how many dowels we would need for the front of the dresser. Now my dresser measures 50 inches wide and 37 inches tall. And the front area where I wanted to add the dowels was 50 inches by 33 inches. So, based on my geeky calculations, we needed a pack of 500 dowels that were a quarter of an inch thick and 14 inches long. I decided to go with a quarter of an inch for thickness, as anything thicker would be too gaudy and in your face, and anything thinner would have taken away from the textured, ribbed look that I was going for. So a quarter of an inch was just the perfect happy medium. Now in terms of tips for actually doing this process, Number one would be to wear protective gloves, which we didn't do, so had sticky hands for at least a week after. Also, we could have gotten away with a wood glue like Gorilla Glue. However, we chose something that was more heavy duty, mainly because my kids would be using it and we didn't want the dowels to be coming off. Another thing we did was to glue on the beginning of each pattern while the drawers were still in the dresser, just so the drawers design is completely aligned when they're put back together. Also, in order to save ourselves some time and keep our sanity intact, we lined up the wood dowels in a way that they were only sticking out on one side, just so we didn't have to cut the dowels on all four sides. After the gluing was done, we added weights to it, just to hold the dowels in place. Now, the clamps would have been perfect, but we made do with books in this case, because we are cheap like that. I also removed the excess glue that accidentally got on the wood dowels with baby wipes afterwards, just so I'm able to stain the wood dowels. Another thing that I want to point out is the fact that we worked with the full-sized pieces first, and after that was done, we added the finer details and the smaller pieces. The next step was to power our way through the wood dowels and rip them apart. Actually, that was not part of the plan, so we resorted to the good old handsaw, which, according to my husband, tested our marriage more than our two colicky kids. Well, let me show you what I mean by that in real time. Then we added this walnut colored wood filler just to smooth out any imperfections, especially because there was a lot of bent and bowed wood in this case, and it actually caused a lot of spaces between the dowels which needed to be filled. So the wood filler took care of that and also added more character and dimension to this dresser. The next step was to smooth out the uneven edges using an orbital sander. This gave it a very nice smooth finish. Then came the fun part, which is staining the dresser. I decided to go with this really nice dark walnut finish just to add some warmth to the dresser, and so it goes nicely with the dining table that I've previously shown. Also, another thing was that I didn't want it to be uniformly stained everywhere. I wanted there to be some gradation and variation in the shades, so I stained certain areas twice, and some areas I just went over very lightly, just to add more depth and rustic character to the dresser. I forgot to record the last step, which was to add the sealant to the paint as well as the dowels to give it a nice smooth finish. One thing to keep in mind is it is extra drippy, so make sure you wipe off the excess just so there is no drippage, because it dries as is, so you gotta be extra careful with it. Alright guys, as promised, here's the cost breakdown. So basically we got extremely lucky with the wood dowels and got a pack of 500 for $52. Now this was a couple of months ago, so as you know, with inflation and all, prices are literally climbing every day. So the next best deal I could find is linked in the description with 500 Dowels for about $62. So next came the black paint, which was a leftover from my previous project, which is actually linked on the screen, so do check it out. However, I could have also gotten it from the dollar store for $1.50. Wood glue was for $6.77. Wood filler was $5.22. Wood stain was $16.99. Sealant was $13.48. Orbital sander was $29. Sanding disc for $8. And finally, the handsaw was for $15. So altogether, the total came out to $148, which leaves me with an extra $2 for my next project, which will be coming up soon, so definitely stay tuned for that.
I really appreciate all the support and all the love that you have given me. Truly means a lot. And if you are wondering about this wall right behind me, check out this video right here somewhere. I'm sure you'll see it somewhere. It's a lot of fun. You'll enjoy it. And literally it was only for $10. So watch it. You'll like it. Until then, goodbye. See you next time.